Hello. Today we're looking at a piece by German composer Paul Hindemith. He was extremely well known in the world of composition, especially in the 20th century. I mean, his compositional output is really from the early 20th century through the mid 50s, 60s possibly. He got his start in Germany, and then when World War II broke out, he decided he really did not like what the Nazi Party was doing, so he left and came to America, where he got a position teaching at Yale University. And he stayed at Yale University from 1940 to 1953. During that time, he wrote quite a bit. Perhaps his best known and most recorded piece is called Symphonic Metamorphosis on Themes of Carl Maria von Weber, and that is for large orchestra. If you ever get a chance to hear that piece live, it's amazing. He also wrote a whole series of pieces called Gebrauchsmusik, which means music for use, and that's intended to have a social or political purpose and played by amateurs. So he really had sort of the Soviet mindset of music for the people, but that's what he did. When he was just prior to coming over to America, he had written this series of books. It became a series. It started out as just one large kind of tome, and it was called The Craft of Musical Composition. He wrote this in 1937, and what it does is it explains how Western art music has taken the 12 pitches of the chromatic scale as far as they can go. So in this, he talks about the equality of all 12 pitches, and through this, he comes up with the concept of serialism, where you have a piece of music based on something other than melodic lines. The piece we're going to listen to is just prior to that, so it actually has a melody. Some of his music is rather hard to understand, but this is early enough that it's somewhat palatable. This comes from a series or a cycle of pieces he called Kammermusic, which is chamber music. Again, like the string quartet that we listened to a few weeks ago. This is meant to be played by a small group. A wind quintet is what this is called. And there are 8 total compositions. It says Opus 24 number 2. Opus 24 is the entire chunk of 8 pieces that make up Kammermusic. And each one of them has 4 or 5 movements. So it's a rather large work. We're just going to listen to the first movement of the second one. The wind quintet is made up of standard instrumentation again: flute, oboe, clarinet, horn, and bassoon. And why there's a horn in a woodwind quintet is still up for debate. Sometimes the horn plays the bass line, sometimes the bassoon plays the bass line. They're kind of interchangeable. It's a very unique sound, and it's worth taking a listen. Paul Hindemith was a world-class viola player, and he was often featured as a soloist with major symphonies across the world. He was extremely well sought after. And there's not a lot of call for solo viola, but if somebody needed one, he was the one that they would call. Let's see, another piece that he wrote that was pretty big, he wrote a symphony in B flat. The unique thing about this symphony in B flat that he wrote in 1951 is that it was written for concert band, not orchestra. And he wrote this for the U.S. Army band called Pershing's Own. They're the premier band of the United States Army, and they're stationed in Washington, D.C. I've played that piece in college, I think twice. It's a huge undertaking to do the entire thing. Very fun to play, and again, requires a little bit of an acquired taste, but for the intellectual challenge of playing music like that, it's pretty fun, I think. Okay, here is, I think this is a college group performing this piece. Found this link, and I will show you now. So you see at the very beginning, the clarinet has the melody, and the horn and bassoon are just backing it up with chords. Now the oboe takes over the line. Now the flute takes it over on top. And again, you can see how they're communicating with each other, not necessarily so much with eye contact as with body movement. So they can give clues as to where to speed up and slow down and where the exact moment of entrance is going to be. So the chords and the kind of composition this is doesn't really lend itself to having a melody that you can hum or that, but that's not the purpose of it. It's very challenging parts for every instrument, so nobody really gets to take a rest on this. Everyone has their challenging parts. It's got the extreme upper register on the bassoon there. Okay, that's the first movement. If you enjoyed that and you want more, there's 7 more pieces in the entire cycle. And I think I actually have a recording of it in my office if you want to borrow it. I'll keep it there in case anybody requests it.